Welcome back to the Secrets of the Self-Made. Today we have Manuj Aggarwal, who is the founder and chief innovation officer of Tetranoodle Technologies, an elite AI consulting company. With a remarkable track record of driving transformative change, Manuj, through Tetranoodle, has touched at least 10 million lives and generated over $500 million in value through his expertise in technology and AI. He has shared his insights at the United Nations alongside distinguished figures like the Secretary General and Nobel Peace Prize winners, while President Obama and Bill Gates have also recognized his work. With 4 AI patents to his name, Manuj is the perfect mentor to guide you through the transformative potential of AI and its benefits for businesses. Join us and discover the limitless possibilities of AI under the guidance of this visionary industry influencer. Manuj, thank you so much for being here. I could not be more excited about this conversation.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely bio. Thanks. Very generous introduction. Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. So I tend to think of myself as an early adopter of technology, sometimes actually to my detriment, because I love all things innovation and I want to better understand it. And sometimes I tend to get so caught up in the understanding that I lose sight and I get, it is kind of that shiny object syndrome. But when AI came onto the scene, I was like, oh boy, this is a game changer. And I know you've probably been on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of podcasts, people saying the exact same thing. I think, a little bit more on the earlier side than a lot of probably our listeners of AI. I was really trying to better understand it in the context of copywriting, probably about 1.5 years ago. And I just found it to be so fascinating. And so I'm super curious to hear about the patents that you have and how you're using it. Of course, I want to hear your thoughts on, kind of the misconceptions of AI. It kind of makes me giggle when I hear people talk about, how it's going to take over the world and, going to take over humanity and, all those fear-based thoughts. And so I'll, of course, let you put everybody's mind to ease. But I really want to dig in deep to who you are. You obviously are self-made. I'd love to know what you think it means to be self-made, because you obviously lean heavily into innovation, and you can't innovate unless you are really aware of your thoughts and feelings and how those feelings have you showing up. Like, you can't operate from that part of your brain that gives you access to innovation unless you have a heightened sense of awareness. And so I would love to, let's just start there. What do you think of when somebody accuses you, tells you that they think of you as a self-made person?
That you have already shared so many insights in just that few sentences you shared. Definitely, innovation needs self-awareness. It needs self-confidence. It needs for you to give yourself permission to think outside the box, because innovation by definition is something that people haven't thought of yet. And that is a very uncomfortable position to be in, because as humans, we want to be, liked by other people. We don't want to stand out. That is not our human nature. As evolution has taught us, if we stand out of the group, we most likely are going to have a hard time surviving, because, humans are not able to protect ourselves against dangerous animals. So we have always lived in small groups. But the thing is that once you get in touch with, once you have a sense of self-awareness and once you understand what you are capable of, what gifts you have, then you become brave. You become more vocal about what is going on inside you. And even if people call you crazy, and a lot of people call me crazy for saying certain things, and but then you learn how to just smile at that and say, oh, in time you will also realize what I'm saying is true. And that takes a lot of courage. But also the thing is, it also takes experience, because earlier on in your career, you are even though you have these strong feelings about innovation, about yourself, it's not easy to express them. But once you see the pattern in your life that, okay, what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, it actually works, even though a lot of people may not realize it yet, then you gain that confidence. So yeah, I mean, it's a game of self discovery in a way, in my opinion. Like you are looking to figure out who you really are as a person, as a human being.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So tell us, at what age did you kind of come to the conclusion that you had a lot to offer and you really recognized the value in being brave and setting yourself apart from everyone else?
I mean, the growth happens in a sort of staircase pattern. You grow a little bit and then you flatline, then you grow a little bit, then you flatline. So the first growth spurt, I guess, that was back in India. I was growing up, and as a teenager, I used to work in a factory, and first growth spurt happened when one day I was going through some business magazines at the factory, and I read these stories of tycoons who were very, very successful and came from nothing. And so that led me to think, okay, life doesn't need to be whatever it is. Like, you can actually shape your life, you can actually control your life. And so that led me to find something, some skill that is going to make me more valuable than working in a factory. So that led me to find my love for computers and technology and software. And so that spurt happened. But then uh, uh, for the next 20, 30 years, I had a lot of good professional success working on some really globally impactful projects, and working with corporations like Microsoft or IBM. But at my personal relationships were suffering really, really badly. So I didn't realize the magnitude of potential I had and other people had until I was about 40 years of age, because I was like caught up in the complexities of life, balancing professional life with personal life, dealing with you know um, a little bit of a broken marriage and my relationship with my parents, all of that stuff sort of combined. But then what happens in life is you meet somebody else who can see something in you that you cannot see. And when they reveal it to you, then it sort of makes sense. Oh, okay. Uh, I didn't realize this was happening. The first growth spurt was the business magazines who told me a little bit about life. And then as you go along the way, I met a lot of mentors and coaches and people who really showed me the potential that I had. And then in turn, I realized how much potential every person has, and they just sort of close it in. They just hide it away. They put it away just because they don't want to stand out. What we were saying earlier, it is not difficult. It is not easy for people to really um, show up as their authentic self, because that puts them, makes them uncomfortable, and then it makes the people around them uncomfortable. um, and then once you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, that is the best feeling. Like, then you can be anybody who you want to be, because life is not supposed to be comfortable, and you find comfort in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that I went I hope that made sense. Sometimes I blabber on, but yeah.
Totally makes sense. And
Yeah.
I explain, or I define what it means to be self-made as being willing, to feel all of the feels, including the uncomfortable, including any of the unwanted feels, so that you can, with intention, get the results that you want. But also, there's an and there, and model or teach either informally or formally other people to do the same thing.
Yes,
That's what's going to really change our world, when you define yourself as self-made and you take that responsibility, not only for your results, but also for modeling that, the way that you're doing that, the way you're taking that kind of responsibility for your results, modeling that for other people. I think
absolutely.
it's that 1-2 punch that really makes that definition not an ego-driven definition. It's really more of a purpose-driven definition.
Absolutely. And funny you say that, because being an engineer, I'm always modeling my own life journey. And as you said, once you discover a path, it's always good to preserve it for future generations or others.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you have went from, what was it? I read $2 a day, I think, in your bio. You were earning $2 a day to now being in the boardrooms of Fortune 500s. Tell us about that journey. What did that actually look like? How did that come to be?
Yeah, it was it's been quite an interesting ride. So as I said, once I got some inspiration from the business magazines, I found my love for technology. Then I came to North America, and this was 1998, so dot-com boom time. A lot was happening. A lot of companies were growing. So I got a job. Then I lost my job because of dot-com bust. And then I lost another job. Several other jobs I lost 2 or 3 times in within 2-3 years. September 11th and Gulf War. A lot of things were happening in the world. So that led me to entrepreneurship. So I thought, okay, this job security thing doesn't seem to be a reality. So I started my consulting company and started working with a lot of startups. And as it happens, people who are innovators, we are always curious. We are always looking for the next thing. As you mentioned, you are an innovator, and not a lot of people in the world are innovators. But being an innovator, I'm always looking for, okay, what is the latest technology we can get our hands on, and how can we use it to change the world, make an impact? So we started working with AI back in 2007. We started working with all the latest and greatest technologies as they come out. And so the other thing that we always, as a company, we try to do is look for work which has direct impact on people. So we have done a lot of work in healthcare, helping doctors give better care to patients, helping patients, manage their own health better, education, a lot of these sort of directly impacting industries. And these few filters that we applied to anything that we put our hands on led us to working with Microsoft, led us to working with IBM, led us to working with Pearson Education. All these are Fortune 500 companies. And it was I will say, there was not a plan. There is no way sitting in that factory I could have dreamt of, oh, one day I'm going to be sitting in next to senior vice president of a Fortune 500. And that was never even would have crossed my mind. But it's just these little steps, and staying true to your convictions, staying true to your core values. A lot of people, I feel like, they make compromises. They start their journey with a lot of enthusiasm, and they say, okay, these are my standards. I'm not going to go below these standards. And when life happens, life is not easy. We can dream all we want, but then you really have to work hard to maintain those standards. For example, if I say, okay, I'm only going to do this work at if it impacts 10,000 lives, if I get this much, resources to work with. If the client who I'm working with, they understand these things, and they are good people to work with. But what happens is, like, when push comes to shove, people start to make compromises and they start to lower their standards, and that's where everything starts to fall apart. But when you maintain your standards, it takes a lot of time and energy to get to where you want to be. But then eventually, I feel like if you do that, the results are so much more profound than you had expected.
Yeah, I
Mm.
so wholeheartedly agree. It's like you got to make those decisions of, what your standards are. Making that decision is, critical step number one.
Mm.
And then committing
Mm.
to, knowing that you like your reasons for making that decision
Mm.
is going to help you stay committed to it. Yeah, and just really understanding that it is the sifting and sorting through the ups and downs that's going to make it all possible. So having some sort of expectation that this is going to feel like you're, sliding down rainbows every day, it's probably not the right expectation.
Exactly.
As you and I both know, being entrepreneurs. So
Absolutely.
you are the Chief Innovation Officer for Tetra Noodle Technologies.
Yes.
What are they responsible for? What are the 5 patents under their umbrella?
Yes. So it's actually 4 patents, and so
Okay.
it's a technology consulting company. So we work with the entrepreneurs, we work with other companies where they are trying to solve a complex problem through technology. So they have an idea for a product, or they already have a product which is not working, or they want to adopt AI and make their business more efficient. Um, so we work with the client, and sometimes even they are not clear on exactly what they want. So first step is getting that clarity. What is the end goal? What is the result we are looking for? And then working backwards from there and seeing, okay, what are the technologies that we need? Who are the people do we need? What is the timeline that we need to work with? So we take on technology and innovation projects and deliver end-to-end technology to our clients and help them bring it to market, help them scale it. That's how we work. And we also have our own internal products that we have built over the years based on numerous engagements we've had with clients. So it's all about improving lives, improving businesses, helping people become more profitable, grow faster, reduce their risk. It's all through technology. And basically, as you were saying earlier, modeling my own life. What I have experienced in my life, going from a factory worker to a global thought leader working with large corporations. I call it like a hockey stick growth, exponential growth, right? And so when I look at my own life, I always have looked at data, even though I didn't realize I was doing all of that stuff in my head. But I have always looked at data and then optimized for, okay, this is my data point. Now what's the next step? So we build these kind of systems for other people and organizations so that they can experience that hockey stick growth, which is what everybody is looking for, but is elusive for a lot of people, right? It's they can't figure out, okay, how to navigate the complexity of life and get to where they want to go as quickly and easily as possible. Not It's not always easy, but it's always fun. So we do create that kind of operating system for our clients.
Love it. And so do you primarily find yourself in the healthcare sector?
No, healthcare. We've done a lot of work in healthcare, but as I said, two of my patents are in education. So schools, K to 12, higher education. We've done a lot of work in real estate, logistics, consumer electronics. So we dive into industries which are not related, because again, one of the things about innovation is you take some solutions that exist in one silo, one industry, and then you apply it in another industry. And it's very simple and it's fun to do. But I'm so surprised that other people don't do it. They just stay in their lane, and then they say, they just say, okay, this is how we've done things for decades, and this is how it's going to be. But if they just stand back and say, okay, as humans, we have common problems. It's not unique problems. Everybody has similar problems. If you just stand back and say, okay, I'm in the logistics industry, let me just go and attend a seminar or a conference in furniture industry, or healthcare industry, or wellness industry, and see what kind of problems they have, and see how they have solved those problems. And you'll be amazed how much information, how much insight you get, and that is easily transferable into your industry. And if you do that over and over again, like it's mind blowing how fast you can move.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of our operating system that we teach all of our clients. We teach them this very simple 4-step process that creates a sense of self-control, but it has unlimited applications. You just have to be very open-minded to how it can be applied and to what it can be applied to. I haven't yet found a subject matter that it can't be applied to. And so, but I tend to be a very innovative type person. So to me, that seems very simple. And so I think that's why I do what I do, and I get so much reward from what I do, is because I can help open up the eyes of the people that tend to walk through life with their eyes wide shut.
Yes, absolutely.
So okay, so where does AI come into all of this?
Well, see, it's very interesting how our conversation has led us to this point, because as we were saying, the best and easy way to innovate is to just look beyond your field of visibility, like beyond the boundaries of where you are operating in. And before platforms like ChatGPT came along, you would have had to go physically and find these people in different industries, talk to them. But now imagine that you find a person who have done deep work in every industry out there. They have a PhD in mathematics, they have a PhD in science, they have a PhD in marketing and sales and anthropology and history and whatnot. And the person is available to answer any question 24/7, never takes a day off. And if you come across that type of a person, what kind of possibilities it can open for you? You can try to marry multiple concepts. So I'll give you an example. Like I was talking to a neurosurgeon, and they were and a fascinating thing is they had gone to China and they experienced traditional Chinese medicine, and they were like very fascinated by it. They even they use it in certain ways in their practice. So that led me, in this conversation to say, okay, there are so many modalities which are solving similar problems across the world, healthcare being one. But as it happens, uh, a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and a neurosurgeon in the West, they will never cross paths, and let alone taking the best from both these worlds and coming up with a brand new way of treating people, right?
Mhm.
But with AI, there is no boundary anymore. I can say, okay, take the best of this neurosurgeon, principle, and then take the best of these Chinese medicine practices, and then tell me what will you suggest for this. I'm again, this is a far out, scenario. I don't recommend people try it in real life, but that's where we are heading, right? So
Yeah.
a simpler example could be, I was watching TikTok, and there is a channel on that where a chef asks ChatGPT to come up with new recipes, and then he cooks those recipes. And he's surprised at the creativity of what ChatGPT is doing. Like he was describing some caramelized onions that it was a mac and cheese recipe, and ChatGPT suggested caramelized onions in it. And the chef was like, this is kind of strange, but I'll go with it and see what happens. I was like so surprised at the result because it was so good. And he said that I would have never thought about putting caramelized onions in mac and cheese because that never, crossed my mind as a normal human experience. But ChatGPT is pulling data from the entire written human history, the vast experience. So that's what that's what's exciting. That's why it is so conducive for innovators to borrow these ideas and take things forward and solve some complex problems.
So how much of your day it involves AI?
Well, I mean, I have been, we have been blessed that AI is not something new to us. We have been working with it since 2007. And platforms like Jasper and others came out, I think 4 or 5 years ago. So we started using AI heavily about three and a half years ago. So I will say our business is like 80%. Pretty much everything that we do, we try to infuse AI everywhere. Wherever we run into a problem, we think to ourselves, okay, let's ask AI how to solve it, and then let's actually implement it using AI tools. So we are always pushing ourselves to use more and more AI without letting go of people. It's not that we want to replace people. We want to empower people to use AI to become more efficient. And I believe if I look at our entire business, like everything we do depends on AI. But if we say, okay, how much time we spend directly working with AI, I will say like 70 to 80% of our time is working directly with AI.
So that's a pretty significant change in your, your way of operating from a professional sense over the course of the last, 15 years?
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Isn't that crazy? So what's your comment when people say, be careful, AI could take over humanity? How do you respond to that?
All right, so let's talk about that. See, along with AI, I've had some very deep experiences into the human mind, into the human psychology, and even I have studied the neuroscience of the mind, like how it all operates. When we say that AI is going to take over humanity, we are basically projecting our own fears, because as humans, we tend to think as soon as I have the power, my first order of business is to suppress others. That's what we think. That's what we have been made to believe. But if we look at history, if we look at a long-term chart, very long-term chart of human evolution, if we were that competitive, if we were that vicious, that the only thing that we can think of is suppressing others, we would have eliminated ourselves long time ago. There have been many periods in history where human population on this planet dwindled to about 1,000 or even less. Okay, and we were competing with other species, Neanderthals and all of the other humanoids, right? So human nature is collaborative. By default, it's not competitive by default. So that's one thing. Second thing is, when we say, okay, even if AI becomes this all powerful entity that can take over the world, people don't understand what taking over the world means. There are millions and millions of species on this planet, and there is only one species that wages organized war against each other, and that's just humans. That's it, right? So it's not in nature to have these kind of things happen where one species is eliminating another species. And then the next thing is that even when we say, okay, there may be a scenario where this can happen, then also people need to realize what causes this kind of action. This is not something somebody wakes up one day and says, okay, I want to wage a war against other nation. It's a generational trauma that they have experienced, generational suppression, generational sort of impoverishment, and that gives rise to all these emotions bottled up that erupts as a volcano. And that's what the definition of war is, right? So in order for AI to behave that way, you'll have to conceive of an algorithm that can replicate that generational trauma, that can replicate that way of being. And somebody will have to be so in tune, almost I say somebody will need to be 10 times more enlightened than the Buddha to understand this human condition, and then convert that into an algorithm, and then plant it into AI to do its bidding. So you have to be 10 times more in tune than Buddha, but 10 times more evil than Hitler, to say, okay, I have now built an algorithm, I'm planting it in AI, now go take over humanity. And that's how I see the world, which sounds, yeah, I don't see that being possible, but I don't know how things are going to turn out in a couple of 100 years, but that's where we are today. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. I think our truest essence is to be collaborative, to co-create. And when you remind yourself of that, and you start feeling the fear of the what if something has this ability to take over, our jobs or our life, or, the way we think, or, starts to do the opposite, you essentially are pushing against your truest essence, what it is that your inner being actually knows. And so it shows up in the form of this question, right? It's like we fear this unknown, but if we really tap into our truest essence and what it is that we do know, that question is like insignificant, obsolete. It's not even there. And so it's just a fear-driven question. Of course, humans have the tendency to operate from that part of their brain that's very reactive and fear-based, but that's all that is. And
exactly.
So and kind of I don't know, we can disregard, I guess, that question. We can understand it. We can have empathy for the people who are toying with that question, but we also can, quickly, I think, I don't know, distinguish it or extinguish it. So thank you. That is a great answer. So I find it so fascinating that you work the majority of your day with some type of AI, yet you speak on this platform about how you can use the power of your mind to achieve anything. So I love that you have like this juxtaposition.
Well, the reason why that happened was, as I said, after going through some deep experiences, I do believe AI is actually a continuation or a continuum of our human mind. It actually is, because it is consuming the data that is produced by our mind to understand the world around us, and then it impacts us to think. Because if you look around information today, the news that we consume, the media that we consume, everything that we see around us is pretty much controlled by AI. So it's a two-way street of how we play with AI. And if you're interested, I can give you another a tip or a magic wand, I call it. And if you want to try it, it's a very fun exercise.
Heck yeah, let's go.
So if you want to experience what AI and your mind can do together, think of something that you want to achieve in the next 30 days. Okay, so it doesn't need to be like a huge goal, but something along the lines of, maybe you want to go on a getaway vacation with your family or what have you. So most people, when you ask them about this goal, they'll have a vague idea. Okay, I want to go to a vacation, I want to do certain things, but not very detailed, like a vision about that. So if you go to ChatGPT, input some data about yourself, about your goal, and ask it to write a detailed 2,000-word story about how it has already happened, how, and write it in first person, and then read it out to yourself every day, and ask ChatGPT to add more details about the places you go, the flavors you enjoy, the weather, all of that stuff, because that creates a very vivid and detailed story, a vision of what that experience is going to be like. And when you read it out to yourself every day, it actually starts to actuate. Actually starts to come into your life in many ways, and you will be like totally blown away what happens. So I give this sort of a mini exercise for people because this is very, very easy to do, but then the experience you get is so profound, like it's just like magic. So try it, let me know how it went for you.
I love that, because what comes to mind as you're saying this is that we're only limited by our own imagination, right? And
Exactly.
so if you learn to use Chat GPT as a tool to expand upon your own imagination, then yeah, you can totally, co-create with it.
Exactly.
Okay, so what does meditation and AI have in common? Are we on the same track?
Yeah, see, meditation is, as I said, like what I just shared with you, this magic wand trick. Once you do it for 7 to 10 days, or continuously read this story, what you experience in your mind is very much similar to meditation, because meditation is basically separating out your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. So we in the world operate as logical human beings, and we think that all our actions are controlled by our logical mind. But the fact is 95% of our actions are controlled by our subconscious mind, and it's not through logic, it's through emotions. So if I buy a bright red Ferrari, it's not a logical decision, it's an emotional decision about how it will make me feel about myself. So that's what's going on, right? When you meditate, and the fact is that when you don't meditate, the subconscious mind or the conscious mind, they are a single entity. You cannot distinguish between them. But once you start to meditate, your conscious mind and subconscious mind, they start to become separate entities. And now your conscious mind can actually observe your subconscious mind. You can see what are the thought patterns that are going on, and you can, once you see them, you can start to replace them. You can say, oh, I'm feeling down, I wonder why this is happening. Oh, okay, this is happening because of, I experienced this, so let me find a positive reason why that happened, and now I can plant that thought in my head. And it's like fine tuning your own engine, and so if you do this exercise that I just said, because I tell people, meditate, and they say, oh, I don't have time. And then I say, okay, meditate even more then. But then the thing is that most people want results without much effort, right? So then when I came across AI, this is the best form of exercise I could share with people, which is very, very easy to do, and it's fun to do. Plus, it gets some results like magic. So that's what meditation and AI has in common. But obviously, that is just scratching the surface. If people want to go deeper, there are so many layers under there. But yeah, I mean, it is a very, very powerful way to look at the mind and AI.
Yeah. Okay, so give us the practical application using your mind and the extension of your mind, AI, to, have career success, professional growth. I think a lot of people are very inspired by your self-made success story. What would be your best advice on, having similar results to what you've experienced what would be the technique that you'd
Sure,
encourage
sure.
to use?
I'll give few steps in this process. The first thing is self-awareness. You need to understand who you are. When I say self-awareness, it's not about what is your favorite ice cream flavor, what is your favorite color. It's more about how do you see life? What are non-negotiables for you? For example, for me, family is a non-negotiable. Adventure, curiosity. These are some of the things that I seek in life. And once you understand your core values, then every decision you make in life, big or small, you can say, okay, does this align with my core value or not? So that's number one, self-awareness. Second thing is, what are you going to use as your vehicle to create value in the world? So professional success is nothing else but exchange of value. Whatever you're producing in the world is paying you back. So in order to maximize that value, there is a Japanese concept called ikigai. Okay, so ikigai literally means your purpose of being. And basically what it does is it's a framework that gives you a combination of what you're good at, what the world needs, what people will pay for, and what you enjoy doing. So at the intersection of all this, you find a skill or a couple of skills that are so valuable and enjoyable for you that that'll lead to effortless success. And the third part, which I say, is that most of us have been conditioned to believe that we really need to work super hard and learn all the things in order to achieve something. And that is so counter productive, because as human beings, we are only good at maybe one or two things. Okay, and when you do the ikigai exercise, you will find out that it's very tiny piece of a skill set that we bring to the table that is unique to us. That is our like fingerprint almost, right? Nobody else can do it better. So in order to achieve professional success, you need to realize it's never the how to achieve professional success. It's always the who will help me achieve professional success. So get very good at communication, get very good at building relationships, and get very good at collaborating with people, helping other people, even though nothing may come in return from the person you're helping. The world is going to pay you back 10 times somehow. So the more you can give, the more you will receive. And the more people you have who trust you, like you in your community, the easier it will be for you to achieve that success. Because whatever problem you face, and as ambitious people, you will face a lot of problems. All you have to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm having this problem, how can you help me solve it? And those are the key things that I have learned at various stages of my life and still learning. But if you apply these things, you will be well on your way to succeed.
Yeah. So self-awareness, understanding or utilizing the ikigai to really find that sweet spot of what it is, your contribution, and then really leaning into your resources.
Yeah, exactly.
Recognizing what those resources are. I always tell my kids that use your resources, use your resources.
Yeah.
Manuj, that's great advice. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for spending time with us. How can my guests, my listeners, find out more about you? What more that they can learn from you? What's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, just find me on LinkedIn. Let me know that you heard me on this podcast, and tell me a little bit about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. And if you're an innovator, if you're a risk taker, you want to, take your business or life to the next level using technology, we'll be happy to chat about that.
Awesome. Well, I know I'm going to be in touch. I'm a huge fan. So thank you again for sharing your self-made success story and thank you again to all of our listeners for coming back and hearing, and not only just listening, but really thinking about, how does this apply to you? How does this apply to your life? That's my challenge to you. I want you to be the innovator of your own life, to really ask yourself, how can I use tools? How can I use my resources? Tap into AI, which according to Manuj, it's just an extension of your own intuition, your own ability, your own intelligence. So tap into that and use it on to your advantage. So thank you again for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.